Welcome to Newslaundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. Newslaundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a Newslaundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. I'm going to be your host this week. This is Manisha Pande. Abhinandan is away. He's in the US. He's in Michigan. And some of our subscribers are even going to meet him there. So he's not going to be here this week. So you shall have to suffer me as your host. We have a very interesting panel this week. I'll introduce our Ghar Ki Murgis first. So we have Raman Kirpal here with us. Anand, Vardhan.
Hello.
Jayashree from Chennai.
Hi.
And TR Vivek is our special guest today. Hi, welcome.
Hi, Manisha. Hi.
You're in Bangalore, right?
Yes, I'm in Bangalore.
So, Vivek is a journalist and an entrepreneur. He's also the editor and co-founder of The Plate, which is a new digital media platform focused on food and agriculture, understanding India from the farm to plate. He's worked with the Economic Times, India Today Group, Outlook, Business Standard, Open Magazine, and he's also co-authored the book Cricket and Commerce, IPL, and Inside Story. And for our subscribers, we still get letters, Vivek, saying that Kaveri was their favorite NL Sena story. So a lot of our old-time subscribers would be very familiar with your byline at least, and they still talk about what a lovely...
That's very sweet, and in fact, that very story laid the foundations of The Plate.
So why don't we start with that? Just tell us a bit about The Plate. Why have you decided to start this media venture which is going to be focusing on food and agriculture?
Right. You remember this 1940 wartime speech that Churchill made? Churchill obviously had a very clever turn of phrase, and he said, "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." Having spent about 25 years in various Indian newsrooms, I was compelled to think, never in the field of Indian journalism was so little written about a business so vital to sustaining life. And that was indeed food and agriculture. And in the course of actually doing the Kaveri set of stories, I decided that food and agriculture is perhaps the most important sector in India which goes uncovered, and I must sort of dedicate all the journalistic energies I have left in that area. So that was the starting point for The Plate. The idea is there is a huge information vacuum. The media hardly covers agriculture. It covers agriculture in what I would call an episodic manner. Reporters parachute into hotspots where farmers may be committing suicide, or there may be farmer protests or some kind of agitation that is sparked off. But there is no sustained engagement with the sector. And if you look around the newsrooms, there are hardly any people now, any reporters who cover it as a beat. At best, it is lumped, into the commodities basket. There'll be a commodity reporter or a commodity editor, and there are probably 66 commodities, including crude oil. And agriculture is just one of them. So that being the case, this kind of media apathy, we felt that it wasn't right. So it is an effort to correct that.
So I have a couple of questions on this, but before we get into a full-fledged conversation on agriculture and what your platform hopes to do, and we can have a little bit of discussion on how the media reports on agriculture and farmers, there are a couple of two announcements. One is that we have our NL Sena project for Karnataka elections up. Atul and I are going to be traveling there. Prateek and Sumedha are also going to hit the ground. So you can check out NL Sena/Karnataka-elections 2023 and contribute an amount that you'd like to. And if you're in Bangalore, we're going to be there, and hopefully we'll have a subscribers meet too, so we can all meet up. And of course, feel free to send us ideas and places that you'd like us to cover for this election. We also have a legal fund up we've been granted an interim relief by the Supreme Court in the IT department case. But we have 7 other ongoing cases and we've spent about 36 lakh in total legal fees. So we have an NL legal fund up. So you can check that out also and contribute. And I think let's get the headlines first, Jayashree, and then we can get into our conversations.
Yeah, so here are the headlines for the week. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin convened the first conference of the All India Federation for Social Justice this week. It was virtually attended by 20 parties. It was attended by people like Ashok Gehlot, Hemant Soren, Tejasvi Yadav, Akhilesh Yadav, Farooq Abdullah, Derek O'Brien, D. Raja, Sanjay Singh, and Sitaram Yechuri. So the main demand is that the central government conduct a caste census. Paragraphs on attempts by Hindu extremists to assassinate Gandhi and the ban imposed on the RSS after are amongst texts dropped by the NCERT from its new textbooks. The Indian Express had a very impactful front page, which I'm sure we all saw.
It happened 5 months ago. The changes were made 5 months ago. And Express had done a series of stories on this. And the latest one where they have... This is specific because they did not... In the changes made earlier, they had announced that we are rationalizing the content. But in this particular case, they did not announce it and they just introduced the changes.
The rationalizing exercise is basically, it was carried out the details of it were put out 5 months ago, like Raman said. And the idea was that students were having a hard time coping with studies and their syllabus because of COVID. So it was thought that we could cut down on some unimportant stuff. So to make it easy for them. But it wasn't sure that it was going to be permanent. But now it seems like this is going to be the syllabus for now.
Yeah, and NCERT's justification for not notifying these changes is that it was an oversight. China has released a list of places in Arunachal Pradesh that it has now renamed. India's response is, we reject this outright. And Arunachal Pradesh is an integral, alienable part of India. On Wednesday, the Supreme Court quashed the central government's telecast ban on Malayalam news channel Media One. The court said the government must renew the channel's broadcast permissions within 4 weeks.
That's a very important judgment so far as the media is concerned. I'm very happy to see that for a change, something which goes against the present government, almost all the newspapers have carried it as lead on the front page.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said the CBI should take action against the corrupt, no matter how powerful, without any hesitation. But the Supreme Court has also refused to entertain a petition by 14 opposition parties, alleging the centre is misusing agencies like the CBI and ED. The Gujarat High Court on Friday quashed a 2016 order that asked Gujarat University to provide details on PM Modi's educational qualifications to Arvind Kejriwal. The court also fined Kejriwal 25,000 and told him he's made a mockery of the RTI Act. I think they are safeguarding Modi's education better than they're safeguarding our borders. A Surat court on Monday granted bail to Congress leader Rahul Gandhi in a criminal defamation case. In Uttar Pradesh, 36 years after 72 Muslims were killed during communal violence in Meerut, a court last week acquitted all 39 persons in the case. I think the original complaint had been against 93, of which 23 had died. The remaining 31 could not be traced, so the trial finally went out against 39. Also in Gujarat, the court acquitted 27 people accused of murder and gang rape during the 2002 riots. On the same day in Bihar, Home Minister Amit Shah talked about instant justice, saying, we will hang the rioters upside down if we form the government with a full majority.
Coming from the Home Minister.
After an IPS officer in Tamil Nadu was suspended over allegations of custodial torture, the State IPS Officers Association has accused the media of covering the issue in a selective manner. IPS officer Balveer Singh was suspended after he was accused of, among other things, pulling out the teeth of accused with pliers. I think this we can discuss in some detail. An Indian family from Gujarat is among the 8 people found dead at the US-Canada border. They were allegedly trying to enter the US without travel documents.
Our reporting project on this from Gujarat is up. Part 1 of it is up. Basant has he's traveled across villages in North Gujarat, where he's spoken to families who have relatives in the US who've left without papers. So he's kind of looked at this phenomena a little bit. So you can check that out. It's on YouTube and on the website.
Over 20 people were injured as communal violence broke out across several cities during Ram Navami processions this week. The violence was reported in states like Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, Delhi, Gujarat, Telangana, and Uttar Pradesh. At least 54 people have been arrested. A 35-year-old Muslim man was killed. 2 of his associates were assaulted, allegedly by cow vigilantes, on suspicion of cattle theft in Karnataka. And former US President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty after a New York grand jury indicted him on charges related to hush money payments during the 2016 presidential election. And those are the headlines.
It's not a sector that is being covered in the way that it should, as in it's episodic. But I think that agriculture also, if you could call it that, Krishi Darshan was probably our first journalistic endeavor in that sense, where there was a product made especially to cater to farmers. So there's 2 aspects to it. One is you report for your farmers, for the industry, so to speak, for the sector, so to speak. And then, of course, there's, other stuff that you do. And in fact, a lot of young journalist students who join newsrooms, they have very romantic notions about covering agriculture, going to the hinterland. There's a certain sort of prestige attached.
Romanticism attached to it.
Yes.
Interesting that you brought up Krishi Darshan. I think, Krishi Darshan, in fact, has contributed to this image problem around agriculture being a rather boring sector. Agriculture, our perception of the sector falls between 2 stools. Either it is like a very boring Meena Kumari BP film, Hamesha Rona Dhona Chalta, or Krishi Darshan type, so kuch boring chal raha hai yahan. Or it is romanticized as, farmers are romanticized as Annadatas, and we have slogans like Jai Jawan and Jai Kisan. There is almost no middle ground. There is no rational look at this as a $630 billion sector which contributes 18% to our economy, employing half of our workforce. One of the problems is, in media, our presentational techniques and how we approach this is quite bonkers. When we do even write about agriculture, it is mostly through op-ed pages. Ashok Gulati writing for Ashok Dalwai or Harish Damodaran. Some of them may be friends, but those are inaccessible things. Those are experts talking to experts. There seems to be, to my mind, a growing distance between producers of food and consumers of, you can call it India or India and Bharat. If that is the case, there is very little likelihood of any conversation or empathy between these 2 groups. Therefore, when we talk about farmers' crisis, we have absolutely no tools to make sense of why there is a crisis and what can we do about it.
But if you had to sum up for our listeners why there's a crisis, because that's a huge topic also. And especially if you want to look at the farm laws.
Let me give you an example. Farm laws, okay? The agitation, etc. Do we have adequate tools to make sense of what the farm laws are saying or what they intend to do? Our responses are reductionist. If we like Mr. Modi, we think that farm laws are going to transform the landscape of India. If we happen to dislike him, we think that this is the absolute death knell for Indian agriculture, where Ambani and Adani are going to gobble it up.
I remember the Hindu used to have a supplement maybe in the 90s or early 2000s about agriculture. But even that, they used to have it once a week along with the science and technology supplement. I'm not sure if anyone else remembers. But even that, they try to talk about new technology available to farmers, new cropping techniques. But I guess as a layperson, it didn't really, they were unable to sort of make it appealing enough for someone to understand it.
In the press has tidbits about it that if there are adverse weather conditions which are going to hamper the crops, they sound a bugle. And they sometimes say in small boxes on the inform about the rates in the mandis. And occasionally, I don't know if they have a fixed periodicity, but occasionally there is a column here and there about some agricultural issue. Also, there is an expert answering some of the readers' questions on crops.
So it's again catering to farmers as the audience.
But it's not very regular, I think. Bhaskar had it for a few years. Now they have it or not, I don't know. means Bhaskar, if I recall correctly, Bhaskar had, Hindustan also has it.
One question I had of Vivek was, what do you think of this whole millets push that the Modi government is getting into? It's the year of the millets, right? And millets is going to be millets is going to be the new yoga. Apparently, I'm very happy with that because I love eating millets. I think everyone should replace rice and atta with ragi and madwa. We get madwa in Uttarakhand, so I really like that. But what do you think of it? What are the obstacles? And already you have some reports coming in, for example, like UP, they've said that we're going to, take at least 17% of the rice production and give it to millets. So there's going to be that. What do you think of this idea, and where are we realistically in terms of pushing it in a big global way? Like maybe a phenomena after yoga.
It's a very laudable and necessary push, if you ask me. I don't think this can be compared to yoga, but because, there is a significant, domestic need for it. There's a domestic imperative. It is not just a projection of soft power. This is actually a response to a lot of ecological issues that we are facing, nutritional challenges that we are facing, and I think it's quite laudable. But there are several issues. You spoke about the UP government saying that we will give 17% of the land from rice to ragi or whatever. See, farmers don't respond to marketing campaigns. They respond to economic incentives.
But in terms of a global demand, is there one for millets? Like, is it at?
No, not really. Where it is just millets. Only India and Africa consume millets in any significant amount. Ragi, again, finger millet is quite finger millet. Sorghum, jawar, and bajra are quite big in Africa as well. But that's the image problem. It has always been considered a famine crop. It's a subsistence. It used to be a subsistence crop because if you don't have access to water or good soil, actually ragi can grow with half an inch of topsoil. It's that resilient. And to produce a kilo of rice, you perhaps need 5,000 to 6,000 liters of water. For millets, it's as little as 400 to 500 liters. So they're very resilient and hardy, which is why they're called superfoods, and which is why I'm excited with this marketing campaign, because it's a step in the right direction in terms of both nutrition and sustainability.
But you got to make it attractive for the farmers also, for them to want to shift away.
That is the challenge. See, India talks about millets. Okay, now the thing is, the supply is so little. India is one of the largest producers, but if you look at the millet basket, we produce about 16 million tons of millets. That's it. In a food grain overall basket of about 320 million tons, we have about 16 million tons of millets. What can you do with that? Even if tomorrow everyone wanted to shift to ragi, there is simply not enough supply.
I always wanted, as a reporter, to report about agriculture, of course, romanticizing initially, but I got opportunity as and when agriculture was in news. I remember in 90s tomatoes were over 100 rupees kg. So how I went to somewhere in Rajasthan, Jhunjhunwala or somewhere where the tomato supply. So I chased a farmer, lived with the farmer, went to the mandi and came with those tomatoes to Delhi, and so that how it becomes from 5 rupees to 100 rupees. 100. So it was very fascinating. And besides that, I think I was with the Express, and Express used to have, I don't know, I read Express regularly, but I think I have not been noticing, but they had a fortnight page on rural with special focus on farmers and agriculture. So I remember...
They used to have a page. It was quite a good page.
15.
On Thursdays.
On Thursdays. So every fortnight, 15 days, they used to have I remember when I was posted in Jammu and Kashmir, so I, for the first time, reported on apple cultivation. And then I when I was in Lucknow, so again there because I always wanted to contribute to that page. So that page I always used to like.
In fact, I had started a weekly podcast on agriculture and agribusiness when I was at Business Line. So the name of the podcast was actually inspired by that page, and I called it Field Notes. It was just copied from notes from the field that expressed that.
And we're going to have elections soon, 2024. And Modi government is going to be assessed on how it has been for farmers, how it's been for agriculture. So if you were to assess the government, and also we don't really see that as a big talking point, right, for the BJP. When they do talk about the achievements and stuff like that, you don't really, the district PDS we talk about, and we hear leaders making speeches on that, we rarely see them ever talk about what they've done for farmers. At least it's not really publicized that much.
So, as Vivek said, and I have also been saying it, that as a political constituency, farming community is very fragmented, and it does not coalesce into a very vibrant political force that is very attractive for political wing. So because of so many groups which are within them, and also their diverse interests across regions, so a single kind of program or policy to appeal to a national farming community is just a figment of imagination in political discourse. I don't think that happening.
So it was a virtual conference. They all sat around on Zoom. They used a lot of catchphrases like, there's no time to sit on the fence, we need to come together, it's time for unity, the usual sort of spiel. They emphasized the need for a caste census, which is great. They pointed out that the results of the 2011 caste census, which is the first one done since 1931, has still not been released. They talked about the murder of social justice in Karnataka due to the scrapping of the Muslim quota. They criticized EWS. I think DMK is one of the few parties that's gone to the Supreme Court petitioning against it. Okay, so for me, this one meeting in isolation changes nothing. It's just that every meeting and every stage that is shared and issues that opposition leaders unite for is a small step towards a greater alliance, which we know. But I think not even the DMK, let alone the media here, are treating it like some huge, vital, significant event. It's not like the media is obsessed with it. It didn't grab eyeballs and headlines. And even the DMK was not treating it in that way in its social media posts. It was fairly matter of fact about the idea that the meeting took place. For me, the thing is that, so Stalin has ties with Pinarayi Vijayan, with Jagan Mohan Reddy, with KCR, even with Kejriwal to an extent. The Congress is, of course, an ally in Tamil Nadu. So this makes him sort of, an asset. But I think there are fundamental differences in the outlook because Stalin has repeatedly warned against a third front. He says it only serves to strengthen the BJP. He says it's pointless to discuss the idea of a third front.
Yeah, that was during his birthday when he said, right? At the birthday meet, he said there's no point discussing a third front.
On his birthday, he said 2024 is not about who should rule, but about who shouldn't rule. So what this means is that such a coalition will not keep out the Congress. Now, Anand can also talk about this because he wrote about it in length. But in the South, the CPIM especially would possibly be reluctant to join a Congress front, as will the AAP, as will the TMC.
Even for PRS, Congress is, a rival. Even for Jagan's party, their principal rival.
So I think it's great to see these sort of shows of unity, to see 14 opposition parties coming together and petitioning the Supreme Court, which then threw out their petition, which is a whole other story. But as to what sort of tangible steps these are taking towards the future, I don't know. I do think Stalin would be an important player. I think he would like to be an important player in any form of opposition for 2024. And I think he has the wherewithal in the South to make that happen. But also, I do think if you're talking about national faces of an opposition alliance, I think Stalin is too alien for a lot of Hindi-speaking states.
As in Bihar, the question, it may be an intra-alliance thing also, the consolidation of the legacy of Lohiite politics. I would not go into that. That would be very state-specific. But coming to this, as is obvious, two kind of alliances, opposition alliances can take form. One can feature Congress in the lead role, other will not, or will have a marginal role for it, or will have a very situational role for it. So thinking of the first kind of alliance would be that support us where we are strong and we will support you where you are strong. So that in Congress, the kind of thinking that Congress has till now, that does not suit Congress for the simple reason that it would also ask it to vacate those grounds where it would be in a rebuilding phase, or it would give a ground for, say, if AAP and TMC, they have grown at the expense of Congress. So they would not want a Congress-led front for the simple reason that they would want that vacant space more, to grow more. Like in the national challenger space, if that space is up for grabs, then there would be multiple players and they can think of, say, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line. But if they give Congress that primacy back, that yes, you are the default national challenger to the dominant power structure that is now, then we are accepting that it is among the challengers. It's not the race for the race is not among the equals. So that is a very classic dilemma. But the say incumbency forces also see that the divergence law is in a say bipartisan polity. They would be in a more powerful situation if they somehow have a synergy of forces so that the vote split is minimized.
I think this meeting at Chennai, by any stretch of imagination, it doesn't show that the entire opposition has come on one platform and they're going to. That is certainly not an indication. I think perhaps this meeting at Chennai, which they have organized it pretty well, if it comes to, say, digitally speaking. I mean, they simultaneously, they started WhatsApp groups. They included the journalists. Like my name is there because I was DNA editor, so my name is there in the Rajya Sabha record. So they have included me also. So, for publicity, for giving information, and also the kind of people. So I think they are just raised one issue, that if all of us can rally around social justice and the issues of social justice and federalism, we can fight out against BJP, and we can just into 2024, if we just rally around these two issues, and once we rally around these two issues, and then of course I think it is elections, the voting pattern is very different, from so far as the issues are concerned. So I don't think it is still we can say that the opposition is on one platform.
Yeah, I feel like Raman says right, like they're just picking issues that are easy to rally around. It's these are things that most of these parties sort of align with, and the demand for a caste census, which is very important. So it's not really that they're looking at issues that voters are sort of going to vote on in 2024 as a preliminary sort of, we agree on these three things. Yeah, that's all. That's really like the only sort of position they're trying to telegraph. So
in other news coming from Chennai, there's this case of a gruesome custodial torture by a police officer, including, like our headline said, pulling out teeth with pliers. And the IPIS has said that there's been selective reporting on this. So what aspects of it are they saying is selective? And if you could just give briefly our listeners a little bit of a background on what exactly this case pertains to and where is it at this point?
So the Tamil Nadu IPS Officer Association has come out strongly in favor of him. They're saying that he's a cop. The media is reporting on these things even pending an investigation. Therefore, the media must exercise discretion until the investigation is done. Now, the thing is that the state government, Stalin has said in the assembly that, the Singh has been suspended. 6 other officers have been sent on leave. And they are investigating the case. But an FIR has not been registered. The CCTV footage from the police stations was only collected about 10 days after all this happened. Now, as of today, they're saying the CCTV footage has gone missing, like, of course. So my issue here is the custodial violence is rampant. It doesn't matter who's in power. It doesn't matter if other states are bad or worse. In Tamil Nadu, 478 deaths have been recorded in judicial and police custody in the last 6 years. Not all these deaths are due to police excess, but a lot of them are. And the reports that we're reading like this are only a very few that sort of make it to the headlines. For example, the Thoothukudi custodial deaths that we had also reported on for Newslaundry, that was just one barbaric event that sort of caught the media's attention.
And it led to deaths. So I think that's when it really kind of blows out.
Yeah, whereas on a regular basis, people are paraded with broken arms. The cops will say they slipped in the bathroom. I mean, only a fool would think that these are not beatings as a matter of course. And it's only when an exceptionally sadistic cop like Singh, who sounds like a sadist, if the allegations against him are true, then we hear about it in the media. But I feel like this is a horrific reality of the criminal justice system in Tamil Nadu. There is no political will to stop this in Tamil Nadu or in India. The policing is a mess globally. But I feel like in India, especially, violence, intimidation, custodial torture are components and very essential components of policing. Like you cannot police without violence.
And I think very accepted also. I think most, even in popular culture or whatever, it's okay to,
Yeah, it's a joke.
It's a bit of no one's waterboarding people, but it's still kind of accepted that you kind of beat someone out of, form for a confession or get to the truth of the case.
Stick is hardly a cause of comment, right? We're not going to be like, oh my God, this happened, because of course it happened. We comment on it if it didn't happen. And in Tamil Nadu, there is a wild and long history of this kind of brutality.
All of you listening in, the Chhota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the Newslaundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to Newslaundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs, and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sun liya Afrika, mufat khoro. Not to brag or anything, but Newslaundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All Newslaundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.